Hello everybody, this is a ZBrush tutorial. This ZBrush tutorial is going to teach you how to repair 3D scan data. Now you could use it to apply it to objects, or you can use it to apply to cars or whatever you're doing, but this is mainly based on repairing models that are being scanned, or 3D models that are being produced from scan from real people. A lot of times, a lot of the machines have what's called artifacts on the outside of the scan. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need a process to repair those without destroying the textures. And a lot of methods out there will destroy the texture once you try to start modifying it. Well, I have a technique that I'm going to show you for free how to do to be able to repair any model that's been destroyed and then you need to patch up. For example, say there's holes in the model, you need to fix it. There's parts that are missing, or you need to put another foot on the other side because the foot is completely destroyed. I'm going to show you how to do these techniques. I'm going to show them how to do it for free. So thank you for joining us. Please add onto my channel and add me into as a subscriber would be appreciated, and let me know, give me your feedback on this too, and request more tutorials if needed. But I'm going to go ahead and get started here. So one of the first things that I notice about the scan data that I've been editing is that you'll notice that every time that you do it, the textures are too dark and they make the prints turn out really badly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Adobe Photoshop Cloud version, and sorry about my squeaky chair, and I'm going to show how to use Adobe Cloud version to do this. Now I have a texture here of me and my son, and this will prevent me from having any copyright infringement. So it's a scanned model for me that's been in a booth, and there's artifacts on it. There are problems with the scan. So what I'm going to do is let's double click on the texture. Let's start from this point, and you're going to look at the texture like, okay, you know, that looks like a texture, and there's some problems I can see on here, like there's some purpling on my black shirt, which is supposed to be all black. And we're going to address each and every one of those problems to repair these scans. So I'm going to go to Image, and I'm going to go to Mode, and I'm going to go to CMYK Color. Once that's been selected, and you may ask why would I do that? That's the closest you can get to the color arrangement of a 3D printed color part from a Projet 660, and I believe there's also the Projet 450, I think, which is just a smaller volume gypsum, 16 million color printer, so that you can have these as sculpts. So this is going to be, so if you get scan data from anybody out there, you can just take your prints, come back and edit them yourself, and then ship them off to a printing bureau and probably save yourself some money and time and the hassle of dealing with having it. So you can just go in there, pop in there, get a scan, come back out, and go get it printed anywhere you want. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Adjustments, and I'm going to go to Brightness and Contrast. Now these adjustments can be varied. You can bring them up higher, but what I've found for the models that I've been doing is usually to go up about brightness about 25% and contrast about 25%, and this usually gets enough vibrance in the colors, makes them bright enough, makes them very viewable, which is very easy to do. So I'm going to go ahead and OK that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to export this in the original format by going to File, Export, Export As. And I'm waiting for that to pop up. There's a little screen here. It takes a little bit when you're exporting PNGs, which I've never quite understood about the cloud version, which I guess it's just got to do some processing over the web, or it's hard to say. And this shouldn't take too long. I should not have to pause the video for this. You notice that the pixels are 4096 by 4096. And I do also have ZBrush running in the background, so it's going to take a little bit of processing power out of that. So I'm going to go ahead and export. And instead of giving it the original name, because I'm not going to destroy the original one, I'm going to call this one, I'm just going to say I'm going to make this one, just call it as Brighter. B-R-I. Okay, so Brighter is meaning signifying brighter, the same name. And I'm going to go ahead and save it. And then I'll wait for that. And it does take a second to do this, maybe depending on how many processes are occupied by your computer at the time. My particular one, I've got a lot going on in the background here, which is also ZBrush is running with it as well. Plus trying to record makes it a little bit slow. I'm going to go ahead and show you the model before I even open it up into ZBrush, just so you can see it inside of MeshLab. So you can just take a look at it and we can observe some things. This will make it kind of quick to show it in here. And let's kind of bring it around here and take a look at it. And I want to show you some of the problems with the model. This is me, by the way, so you know, just I am kind of a big guy. If you take a look here, you can see here's my son's, the back of his head. You see how it's all deformed right in here? This is due to the scanner can't pick this data up. Well, you don't want your print to look that way. And you look on this side here, that's bad as well. Take a look down here at the hands. My son, even though how many times that we did the scan, my son moved. He moved his arm, and what happened is you got two hands here. And you can't see one over here as well. So I want to try to fix that maybe with this hand here. And I'm going to show you how to put this hand over on here and reverse its technology on it too. You notice that we got some fingers showing up here. My fingers have been kind of cut off here. We're going to repair that as well. We're going to repair the way my son's face looks here, which is kind of distorted from the scan. And let's take a look at a couple other things. You can see we have some like double geometry down here. Down here on the sides as well. So these are things that you definitely do not want to have in the print. Let's go down here a little bit. I see there that there's some like skin tone up on here that we need to fix too. Let's move up here, and you'll see right here on the back side of my pants right here, it has some artifacts that are hanging off of it, which definitely you go to 3D print that kind of stuff and you're not going to be happy with the print because that part's going to break off and it's going to end up showing white in that area. And you know, and you can't say you're going to show that to a customer and expect them to accept it. Now look as well here in the back, you can see that there's some white down here, which is my pants were not painted. It's because the texture camera couldn't get to it. And you look here on the back side, you're going to see, look, there's some artifact hanging off of here. You can see that my son's leg's not completely painted with the full texture color on that. And if you look down here, you see these really bad folds that are in my pants, and then they have holes in them here. Well, you try to put that on a 3D printer, and it's going to be a disastrous result, so you need to repair it. And what I'm going to do is we're going to go through and repair that. You see there's some artifacts here. Now, normally what happens when you try to remove these things without using Zbrush, and I also am going to show how to do this in Blender because I've perfected the skill in both Blender and Zbrush. So what I want to do is, and pretty much what I've seen out there is hardly anybody ever doing it, at least from the scanners that I've been doing. I've seen them doing them from other ones, but this is definitely something you want to know, and not a lot of people want to bother to show you how to do this for free. And believe me, when you go looking on YouTube and you find this video, you're going to find out that there's nobody else that's willing to give the information for free. Believe me, I had a fight with a lot of people in the sense of, you know, of intellectually fighting to be able to get this data and piece it together to get this to be a functioning way to do this. And I hope that all of you benefit from this, and please give me some props on the website saying thank you for doing this and that you're actually doing some good with it and your scanning business is taking off with this. So all right, so we can see all the little problems that it has, just so you can see, and we're identifying them. And I noticed this too. My son, the pants have joined together on his legs. Well, you know, you don't want that. It looks like he's got one giant leg with 2 feet sticking out of it. We want to repair those problems as well. And this may entail fixing and going into another program to repair the geometry to allow Zbrush to fix those bridges. But we're going to try to fix it without going in another program, and it'll depend on when I get to that spot about what happens with it. Okay? All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and continue. I'm going to go ahead and close down Photoshop here. And excuse me if my desktop is a bit overloaded. That's just how it is sometimes. All right, good. And I'm going to go ahead and go into ZBrush here. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to import that. Now, my ZBrush is default stock. I don't have any different menus, nothing added to it. So if you've got a stock setup, this is going to be no issue for you. Now, you could probably do most of this in the older versions of ZBrush 2, but you're going to have to modify the changes of the version you're using for that. But remember, mine is 4R7. So let's go to Import. And I need to find that folder on my desktop here, and I believe it's ZBrush Tutorials what it is. All right, let's open it up, and I'm going to import the model. And I want to draw this out, so I'm using the left mouse button, holding the left mouse button, and I'm moving the mouse to the right. And then as soon as I get that set up to where I want it, and notice that this is not in edit mode, you hit T for edit mode. Now that it'll have just that one object in there. Now there's some problems. Sometimes you may do something like this. Let me go in here and reset this just so I know you guys are going to get stuck on it, because I went through these kind of woes messing around with ZBrush at first as well. I'm going to reinitialize ZBrush by going to Preferences and Yes. And watch, and I'll show you this. If you go back to Import and we open that model up, and you're like, hey, this is all new to me. I'm not used to using ZBrush. I want to learn how to use this. And I go, uh-oh. Oh, no. Then I got, oh, shoot, now I got too many of them going in there. Well, guess what? That's a normal path that everybody follows when they start using ZBrush. What I'm going to do is hit Control-N, get rid of them, and redraw one more again, and then hit T to bring it in there. That will get you back out of that problem. That's the most common thing I see with everybody using this. All right. Now, a red sculpted model. You're thinking, man, how in the heck am I going to be able to see anything with that? Well, I couldn't in the beginning. I did it because it was the only way I know how to do. But the best way I find for my workflow is to go over here, change the material to Skin Shade 4. And it just seems that it makes it easier to identify everything in it. But I also want to tell you something as well. The way I'm going to teach you how to do this, you're never going to touch this original model. We're going to use a method to project everything onto the model you're going to repair. And a lot of people can get stuck in messing with the original one. Oh, I'm going to mess with it. No, that's not where you want to be. You want to leave this one as is, and we're going to use this one to project the textures back on our repaired model. That's, by the way, also going to have a Dynamesh. All right, so let's get started without further ado here. Let's go ahead, and I need to import my texture. So let's come up to the top under Texture. Let's go to Import. And then let's select the brighter one, which is the model. I put BRI at the end of it, and let's open it up. I'm going to select it. Now, ZBrush has this weird problem where every time you bring a texture in, you need to flip it. At least every single one I've ever done, I've had to flip it. So notice the angle here, so you can see when I highlight this one. If you take a look, you can tell my head is at the top of the picture. When I click this button, I'm going to flip it. And then you know that now my head's down at the bottom, so you know that the texture's been flipped. So we're not done quite yet before we apply a texture. If you look up here, you'll see active points says about 299,000. Well, it's not enough because you need to have real detail when you project this back on there. So in my experience, you want to go to Geometry, and you want to divide it probably about 2 times. Now, where I see the most valuable point in projecting with the least amount of points and the most detail is somewhere around 8 million to 10 million polygons. Your application may require more. It just depends on all of the details and how many people are in the scan. It may be more. But what I'm saying is that around 8 million, well, 7 million to about 9 to 10 million, okay, polygons, which is what you want. Now, to prevent yourself from having any other problems, you want to click delete the lower subdivisions, because what's going to happen is you're going to be like, what's going on? I'm having some kind of issue with this. And no, you don't want to have this on there. You want to get rid of it right now. Okay, so I'm going to delete all lower subdivisions so that it doesn't interfere. Some people may want to go back, but you're going to end up having more trouble with ZBrush working and crashing because of things like that. And believe me, this has taken quite a bit of development to make this work, and I want to pass it on to everybody out there so that you guys can benefit from it. All right, so now I've got my polygon count up high enough. Now I want to apply my textures to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back over here and close out the Geometry tab on the right hand here, and I want to go to Poly Paint. I want to click the button where it says Colorize. I also need to come up here. Do you see where I have RGB and mRGB? I need to select the option where it says mRGB. Then I'm going to come back down here and I'm going to paint, Poly Paint from Texture. And there you go. Now I've actually poly painted the model. Okay, that's all we're going to do with this one. We are not going to touch this original one anymore. We're going to use it to project our model back onto the other one so we can use it. So what I'm going to do, now I'm going to go up to Subtool, and I'm going to duplicate this. So I'm making an exact copy of it. So just you need to keep in reference of where it is and what you're using. If you like, what you can do is you can highlight the one you want to modify, and you can come down here and you can do rename, and then you can rename it to something else. And my preference is I don't need to rename it anymore, but I want to show you how to do it because that was some of the things that I had to get started with when I first started doing it, was to do that. All right, so let's continue on now. So what I want to do is I want to turn off the coloring for the first model. I want to turn off the eye for the first model, and I also want to turn off the paint for the second model. Make always sure that you're on the one that you're going to repair, which is the secondary one. Since now we're working with a model that's going to be projected on, you need to go ahead and turn off the texture, because if you don't turn off the texture, what's going to happen is it doesn't matter how powerful of a computer, how much RAM you have in your computer, leaving this texture on makes it run dirt slow. Sorry for a lack of a better word to explain it to you, but that's getting to the point, okay? Turn the texture off. You don't need it anymore. You only need that texture for the first one. Here's something that we need to do too. So if you hold down Shift and hit F, this shows the actual, sorry, I did not want to do that. I'm going to hit Control Z to undo, Control Z to undo, Control Z to undo one more time. Control F. What I want to do is I want to go back to the unshaded one, and I want to zoom in on this. So, okay. So what I'm doing is I'm holding Control, and I'm pressing the right mouse button and moving the mouse back and forth to be able to control that movement. Okay. Some other techniques here is I can hit F to frame it. I can also hold down Shift and then left click and rotate, and you know, see how it'll pop on there. If I go like this, it'll pop to the side like that. I can hit F again and I can make it frame in the window. Just remember that frame key, okay? All right. So now that I have this set up, what I want to do is I want to change this into a Dynamesh. If we look at it, we hold Shift and hit F, and if I zoom in on this, okay, let's zoom in. Now look at the polys. You see how they look like n-gons? They're like, you know, kind of reset up. That's not what you want. You don't want that. You know that definitely it's not a Dynamesh. And you may ask, well, why would you want to make it a Dynamesh? Well, let me tell you what. There's a lot of people out there that are using, let's see, ZRemesher and all those. Well, believe me, if you've got the patience to let ZBrush crash with running the scan data, then go right ahead and continue doing it that way. But if you want to do it a fast way that you can complete like 50 models in a day, then this is the way that worked best, at least for my workflow. And I'm showing you guys about how to repair this. I mean, you can apply this technique to movie production, whatever you want to do with it. So, and this also retains the UVs and the paint. This is why I like that. Well, the UVs are going to have to be projected, but I can show you that in a later tutorial as well. So just make sure you inquire about that if you want to know about that. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show it being ZBrush. So I'm going to go back, since I'm highlighted on this model, I'm going to go back to Geometry, and I'm going to go to Dynamesh. And what I found at a model at this polygon count, which is 7.1 million to 10 million, needs a resolution of about 800 to make this plausible. So I'm going to hit enter on that to accept the 800 resolution, and then I'm going to click Dynamesh. And if you notice that it's not taking very long, all depends on how many polys on it. I mean, considering how many's on it, it's going pretty fast. You can see the projection in process here. Kind of waiting for it. And we're done. And now you notice that the polys are all uniform now. Okay, that's really what I want you to see in this. If you zoom up on it, you can see that they're all set up. It's no longer all those n-gons. It's actually nice triangulated or quads going around on it, which is really nice. Okay, this is also making it to where that you can repair this model a lot easier doing this. Now I'm going to take it out of that mode by holding Shift and hitting F. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to replace, or we're going to delete all the artifacts and all the things that we don't want here in the model anymore. But, well, what I need to do is I need to see if this hand is better than this hand, and so I can use them both. So I'm going to have to project it right now because I need to know what that's going to look like. Or I can do this. I can go back to Subtool, and I could select on the other layer. And then what I can do is I can turn that on to see what it looks like. So that I can turn this one off. And it looks like the bottom hand is the best. That one. So I want to keep this one. I'm going to make this hand in the end work on this hand over here, and we're going to reverse it, and we're going to repair it on this one to make it work, okay? All right, let's go back down. Let's go back to the one we're supposed to be working on. We don't want to mess with our original. And I'll go ahead and turn that one on. You notice the little eye means I'm working on this one. So let's go ahead and select our artifacts here, and let's get rid of them. So this is kind of like a hanging out one here. It looks like the whole area here is all a second hand, so we need to get rid of all of this. So what I'm going to do is hold down Control, and I'm going to click the left mouse button, and I'm going to paint all of that area. So let's paint it all up here. And I'll kind of go over. It's okay if you kind of overshoot it, you know, especially since you're learning how to do this. It's all right. We can go back and fix that. Let's select as much as I can. I'm going to try to select it on the inside here. And by the way, to be able to move around like I am, I'm holding down Control and I'm holding the right mouse button to move in and out. I'm holding down the right mouse button and moving the mouse to rotate. Okay, the right mouse button and then moving the mouse left to right makes it rotate. I'm going to hold down Control and I'm going to hold the left mouse button to paint this item. Okay, now I'm going to hold down right mouse button to right. So what I'm doing is I'm holding down the right mouse button, the right clicking, and moving the mouse left to right to be able to rotate it. All right, let's do a little bit more painting here. All right, let's grab this here. And it looks like there's a lot of artifacts piled up right here too. See some artifacts right here. And there's some artifacts here. Okay, let's get these right here. These look kind of well covered up. I'm going to go ahead and adjust this. I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to change the draw size here by clicking down about right here to do this. Yeah, a little bit too small. I'm going to paint these creases to get rid of these right here. Okay. These are definitely things you don't want to show up in your print. And ultimately what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just delete these little portions, and what they're going to do is ZBrush is going to fill them back in when I close the holes. So we want to get these off of there. Let's just try to take. Sometimes it's better to not try to do them all at once, but I'm going to try that just to make sure. You know, I'm just trying to change things up here a little bit since I'm doing a tutorial for this. Need to get some of this right here going because it's going to show up bad. And then we got some places right here we need to. Again, remember I'm holding down the Control or the left Control button, and I'm holding down the left mouse button to paint. And also remember, you see how I'm painting like this? It'll let me paint on. You need to be over the area you're going to paint, because if you hold Control and move the left mouse button, look what it does. It actually makes this. It makes a square box. And if you let go, look at that. All of your stuff is gone. So you want to hit Control Z and go back to it. So I'm just trying to help you get unstuck from being somewhere with it that you didn't want to be. All right, I'm going to kind of take a little bit of this away here too. Okay, good. All right. Okay. All right, let's go. So what I want to do is I want to hold Control, and what I want to do is I don't want to move the mouse. I just want to hit Control, and I want to hit left click. And you see how it reversed all of the selection that I have? All right. Then I want to come over here and close my subtool. I want to go right down to where it says Visibility. And on that Visibility, I want to hit Hide. Hide Unmasked. And you notice you click on it, it puts a whole bunch of holes in it. So then now what we're going to do is we're going to go to Geometry. Then we're going to go to Modify Topology. And we're going to click Delete Hidden. So those are the artifacts that were hidden. They're gone now. And we're going to close the holes. And you notice that all of them have been closed. So keep in mind that you want to see something here that you want to check this out, because this can be issues for you later on. Hit Shift and F, and you notice that we have our Dynamesh, but then we're back to the N-gons again. So we want to stay out of those n-gons. So to fix that, what we want to do is we want to go to geometry, and we want to go to, let's see, where is it? It is polygroups, and we want to do auto group. Now auto group just makes everything one group, okay, which is good. And we can see what actually is attached, because you see all these weird ones out here that are not there. Then we need to re-Dynamesh this again. So to do that is you hold Control and you move away from the model. You hold Control and you left click and you like draw a box. And as soon as you let go, now if it doesn't work, it means that Dynamesh needs to be selected on the Geometry tab. And so if it doesn't, then this is kind of normal for it not to. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So let me let go. And yes, it is. See how it's right here? It says up here in the left-hand corner, it says projection in progress. What it's going to do is you see all these polys that look really weird right here. It's going to turn everything back into quads, and it's going to fill this area in. So when we start doing patchwork and, you know, filling it and inflating areas that are not correct, it's going to fix it. So if you look now, those are all repaired now. You see how they're all quads again. Even though we chopped some big sections off of that, we got quads again. So we can actually fix that. And we can also see what actually is not attached to the model anymore as well. So we can also take care of that as well. So I'm going to go back by hitting Shift and F to get out of that. I'm going to hit F to frame the window up, and I'm going to look for the other ones. Now we wanted to fix this right here. His pants have actually made one connection that makes it look like one leg. So let's try to delete that without using a third-party program. If I have to, I'm going to show you how to do it in Blender so that it's, you know, that it's free to do this repair. All right, let's go down here. Let's paint this. We want to cut right in between here. And we want to cut right in between here. So let's take this area here. Come up to about right there, should do it. And if you really need to get it precise, here's what you can do. Here's a technique you can do to make this work. So come up here, and you're going to hold down Control and Alt, and you're going to, whoops, I didn't want to do Control and Alt. Didn't want that. Hang on a sec. It's projecting it again. Great. So that's, sometimes you do some things. You know, when I use it, sometimes I'll forget how to do it because I'm trying to explain how to do it. So I'm trying to remember how to explain it as I'm doing it, which is quite a task sometimes. So I want to be as thorough as possible. So let's go back so that I have my painted texture, and I want to add this area. Now you notice that this turns green. So what that's going to do is I'm going to mask just the area I want to work in, so I can get around here to the back side. Let me do that again. Okay, now to get out of it is hold Control, Shift, and Alt at the same time, and then draw a red box, and then you can come back to your full size again. Okay, so I'm going to frame this by hitting F. I'm going to zoom in by holding Control and left mouse and moving, and I want to get just the area I want to work on. So I'm going to hit Control and Shift, and I'm going to add just right up to about right here. And then now what that's going to enable me to do is I can turn around to this side and go, oh, okay, I didn't quite get this where I wanted it to. Now I can paint right in there and get to those areas that weren't letting me get to it before. And this is also going to help you painting and fixing arms and the way people have their arms folded as well. So I'm kind of pre-setting you up for more difficult tasks as you're going to encounter them when you're setting up your own scan models. All right, so I need to go all the way out. I've got it painted the way I want. Control, Shift, Alt, highlight it, get out of it, and then I'm going to hold Control and then hit left mouse button that just highlight or unhides just that one area. So I'm good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to not subtool, but I'm going to go to visibility, hide, and then I'm going to go back to geometry, and I'm going to go to delete hidden, and then close holes. And we did pretty good. So it, you know, ZBrush sometimes has some issues with that. I'm going to show you how to fix that in another one, but I'm going to show you a technique that makes this really easy to make this work for now. But we need to re-Dynamesh it because that's not the part of the quad, so we need to fix that. So I'm going to hold down Control and then drag the box and then reproject it so it'll fix this area. Okay, it looks like it's all done. Let's go back in here. Let's just make sure that that's all one group again. I'm going to click Auto Group again. Okay, it is. And what I'm going to do to get this where I want, now you can export this into a third-party program, but to get it to where I want, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit B for brush, and I'm going to click on the Move tool, And I'm going to bring this brush size up a little bit, and I'm going to hit Shift and F to take it out of that mode again. And I'm going to take this area here, and I'm just going to drag it up. And what this does is going to give me a little bit. Now, you may think this is not going to work, but look, I have Dynamesh the model, so it doesn't matter when I do this because I can just re-Dynamesh it. So we're going to bring this up here, which is good. All right, that's probably decent enough, a lot better than the way it was before. So let's re-Dynamesh it so you can see how it's all bunched up. I'm going to do F here, and you can see how it's all bunched in there. And I'm going to re-Dynamesh it here, which I'll fix that problem. Right. All right, they're looking good. All right, so I'm going to go hit Shift and F to get out of that mode. And let's take a look. All right, so now we need to tackle these kind of problems right here. So the best way is not to delete them. We want to fill them in. So we're going to hit B, and then we want to use the inflate tool. So B is just to bring up the brush. You can do the same thing by clicking over here, clicking this icon, which is your brush, and you can click on the inflate tool is what we want to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this. So when I go to inflate this, see all the parts meet together. You don't want this in a 3D print. This always makes your prints really bad because when these pieces break off, it's going to show little white pieces, and your customer's going to look at you like, what are you talking about? So let's fill it in, make it look decent here. And you may be surprised at how well this does look. I'm going to kind of fill these in because just knowing what the printer does, and these little areas don't have a whole lot of meaning to be able to keep them like this. You can keep some in there, but remember, these are difficult spots to be able to clean gypsum out on a color printer. All right, so let's get the rest of them here. Any ones that we can see that like they need a little bit of repairing. This is a little rough spot here, but some of that stuff's going to be fixed by just smoothing it out. So here's a pocket. Here's a pocket where gypsum stores up. You want to fix those. And now we can fix these this way. Now I deleted the other ones when I showed you this. You can fix this by using this technique, by just inflating this a little bit. Okay, I'm inflating these edges. They're going to make them join is what they're going to do. So there's a technique that you're going to have to explore for yourself. Now you see what I'm doing is I'm just making these big enough so that they make connections on it, because when I re-Dynamesh it, they're going to connect. Here's another problem area for most of these scanners I see as well, is you're going to see the ears are going to be gone, and just like this one is right here. So there's some area here that's missing. So I'm going to kind of build this up to put it back. And I'm using the inflate tool, if you guys forgot. Which is good here. Let's bring this out. Okay. It's a little bit big, but you see what it is we're going to smooth it. So it gives me some area to smooth it. Because if I look at it like this, right here, you'll see, let's do Shift and F. See, I've kind of expanded the polys out as far as they're going to go. So when I remesh it, I'm going to repair that. Let's do this real quick so you can see it. So I'm going to hold down Control and drag to a box and then let go, and it's going to re-Dynamesh it. So we're waiting for that. All right, now you can see it right here. You can see everything looks good on it, including all the other spots that we repaired down here. They all look like one part now. So including, now my son doesn't look like he has just one leg now, which is good. And I see some problems with the feet here. So these things need to be addressed. So we need to use our our fill brush again. Let's do it. Alright, so it's looking good here. So we can probably start to smooth it, but we don't want to because we need to project the model from the other one back on here again. Let's see here real quick. Yeah, what I did there is I hold down Control, Shift, Alt, and then you select the model, and you see what artifacts are left there. So I'm going to do Control, Shift, Alt, and select it again. Control, Alt, Shift, and then left click, and then you see the ones that are gone. I'm going to delete those little artifacts that were hanging around the model. So going to Geometry now, and I'm going to delete Hidden so that those aren't there again. So all the ones that were hanging out in outer space, those are all gone now, if you noticed. Okay. So let's go down here, and we need to project our model onto it. Alright, let's project our paint back on there before we try to do any smoothing, or I think all the rest of this now can be done with smoothing and actually using the inflate tool to make all the rest of the repairs. Alright, so let's go to the subtool and let's turn on. Make sure you don't select the layer, the one that has the painted one on it, but we just want to turn on the paint, and we want to turn on the eye, and we want to turn on that. So what we're doing is we're telling this that we want to project everything from this one to this one in color wise and geometry and whatever little things that are on there. It's gonna probably shrink the ear again, but we're gonna fix all of that stuff. So now I'm hitting F to frame it, and I'm going to go ahead and go down here where it says project, and I'm going to hit the button where it says project all, and now it's going to go over the whole thing. Now it takes a couple of seconds here to do this, depending on how much RAM you have in your computer. This particular one has 32 gigs of RAM in it. We're getting pretty close to finishing with this. We're going to have to do some smoothing of the model first, and then we're going to have to do some manual painting. And to be able to get that hand over onto the other one to have a hand on both hands, I'm going to show that as the final process, because once you have it set up on there in that process, then it's going to be the last part, because you can't reproject after you replace a hand. You can't reproject. You have to keep the color, whatever it is, and then you can create a UV later on. But this is all for 3D printing, so a WRL file is what we're going to export everything in anyways. So let's turn off our first layer, and now we have our projected model that's, for the pretty much repaired. You see there's a bunch of white and everything else on here. That's because it tried to project those holes back on it, but we're going to fix that by painting that, which it looks pretty good here. All right. Alright, let's go ahead and turn off the paint, and what we want to do is we can start to repair the model. So let's maybe start from up here. So what I want to do is I want to change it back by brush to a standard brush, and I want to hold down Shift at the same time, and Shift is going to allow it to smooth this model out. So you see I'm doing the ear here real quick. Okay, that looks decent now. And I'm just gonna. You may think, why don't you want to keep that detail? Well, you don't need it because you're painting it on there. You want to have as smooth of a surface when it's being 3D printed as possible. So let's bring it back around here. Alright, fixing these things. I'm just holding down smooth, and I'm smoothing out all the edges, and now I can kind of do a little bit bigger area here. That way you don't have to do it. You're trying to think, I don't know you, but usually when I've been doing this and editing these models for companies, speed is an important thing here. So speed means more models, means more money for the company that's doing the scanning, and less hassle for yourself too. So by all means, you want to take 3 or 4 hours, 5 hours to work on one model, go ahead, but these techniques I'm showing you are to get things done to where you can at least reach about 50 a day, and probably more depending on how hard each one of the models are, because this is not a difficult model to repair, but there was a lot of things that are wrong with it. So in the small details, and You know, they always say God is in the details, right? So the details are really what makes this the big deal. So I'm just kind of going through here. Remember, again, I'm just holding down control and I'm just smoothing everything out. Yeah, I'm doing it slower on these ones because these are the ones that were a little bit messed up when they reprojected. So, whoops, I don't want to paint, I don't want to mask it. I just want to smooth everything out here. Let's get that done. And this is in real time, by the way. This is not, I'm not doing the speeded up version of the video or anything. This is real time that I'm editing this. Alright, let's come down here. Most certainly, if you are just starting your scanning business and you need models edited, you can always inquire me in the email and we can set up something where I can edit the models for you if you need to, or even give you private training on how to do this. If this is not something you can do this quick or watching it, I can do, you know, a Skype meeting and I can teach you. But of course, that's going to be a cost at an hourly rate. So, all right. This is looking good. Okay. So here's some of these areas here we need to fix too. These are all kind of bumpy. All right. Looks like it's pretty good here. All right. So now these ones are unique. These, you can delete them. It depends on how much time you want to spend on it. But I have found, with my experience with doing this multiple times, at least 2,000 of these models that I've edited. Let's go to flatten. Go to brush, and then go to flatten. And then what you can do is you can just flatten this out. You don't even have to worry about deleting it. Flatten it out. And sometimes flatten them out is better because it keeps the texture, you know, the geometry of it better. And that's sometimes why I like doing that. Let's check how it smashed it. So you can see it definitely needs to be Dynameshed. But I'm going to go ahead and go back to brush, and I'm going to go to my inflate tool, and I'm going to fix this up here. So what that is the camera or the scanner just couldn't see this area, so it just kind of flattened it out. So I'm going to go ahead and bring those areas back. And again, I'm using the inflate brush to do this. There we go. So let's do a little bit back here too. And by the way, so this hasn't been re-Dynamesh. Remember, if you Dynamesh this one now, you can't re-Dynamesh it without having this texture on there, because what it'll do is it'll mess all the UVs up and they'll all be totally screwed up. But if you leave the color on and then re-Z-mesh it, and I'll show you that here once I'm ready to do that. Okay, I'm going to hold down Shift to smooth out his face here a little bit more. Yeah, actually I didn't smooth out his face at all on this one. Alright, let's go back and look at the hand here. My fingers there, they've been cut off and they're projected down there, so let's fix that. We're going to fix that with, let's see, I probably can use Move to do this. And I'm going to make it small enough, and I'm basically going to grab my finger and pull it down. Pardon me. This may require some inflate as well, so finger there because I stretched it down. Alright, let's go back to Move. A little bit. Let's take this finger and pull it down a little bit too. It's going to require to be inflated as well. Should look right. To move it down just a little bit more too. Alright. Yeah, that's going to require me to have to flatten it out a little bit. I see that this needs to be flattened out in here. So I'm going to hold down Shift and then Hit the left mouse button to fix this little area in here as well. Let's take a look at what my hand looks like over here. Okay, pretty much can see everything there, but let's go ahead and let's pull this in a little bit so that it looks like there's a little dimple in between the hand there. And let's flatten this one out too, smooth it a little bit. Let's take a look at it and see how it looks. Looks decent. I need to fix my scalp there. Get a little bit on the scalp side. Yeah, the ear's got like a deformity to it right there. So let's smooth that out just a tad bit. Let's go back to it. So now we're going to start. Alright, before I do this, let's Dynamesh it to fix what I've been modifying here. Because if you'll notice that some of the parts are looking a little bit flat, so I'm going to go back and I want to hold down Control and then left mouse button drag and drag a box and then start to re-Dynamesh it again. Alright, that's done. So now it's one Dynamesh again. So we could probably start to do the painting process to fix all the coloring problems with it, which will be good. Let's fix this, fix my bald spot here from not looking like my head's flat right there. Let's go to inflate. Let's get it rounded there so that part's filled in. Alright, we need to fix his arm here too because we had to take up so much geometry it's kind of flat right there. So let's fix that. Looks like it needs a little bit right here too. Okay, that looks good. Okay, let's Dynamesh it so it's one part. Alright, that looks good. Well, his face is a little bit distorted. There's not a whole lot that I can fix if the original texture is bad. Sometimes you can use a texture that's if you can get it off of the original image or any other reference photographs, like a photograph of the person, you could actually repair it. That will definitely be for another tutorial. So I'm fixing the size of the fingers there. And that's a tutorial that you want to see. Please make that request to me directly inside of YouTube. Anyways, let's see. So, all right, let's start the painting process now. So what we're going to do is we want to paint, like, say for example, his hand. So we're going to use the mouse or the selector or the draw tool, and we're going to hit C. So you highlight the area you want to paint from. You're basically getting that color, and you notice that it makes it right over here. So now I'm going to hold down Shift, and I want to turn down. Actually, I want to go to Standard ZBrush. I want to hold Shift, and I want to turn the Z intensity to 0. So what that's going to do is allow me to paint that particular color onto the hand. If you see this here, so let's make it a little bit smaller. That way I can just paint where the fingers are so that you can still see the finger outline. Yes, that looks a little flat, so it may need to be a little bit of a different color here. And that means that you may have to play around with the intensity a little bit and the size of it, and then like this, you see how that kind of put a little bit of tone back into it again. So the same technique here, we're going to grab a surrounding area by right here hitting C, and I'm going to paint that color that's kind of messed up on the arm here. Alright, and I want to fix this little sleeve of his Batman shirt. So what I want to do here is I want to turn up the RGB intensity back again. I want to select this yellow area here, and then I'm going to piece it together just like that. Let's reduce this one just a tad here and paint this in so you can see it. See, it's making the lines better. Whoops. I didn't want to do that section back there. Let's keep this in here so you can see that yellow line. Alright. And we don't need to have this area on here, so we know that that's just kind of a scanner malfunction. Let's paint over that so that's not in there, so it looks decent. And we can actually repair the Batman logo here, at least on the side. It depends on how you want to repair it. If you had a photograph, an actual photograph, you could reproject it on there, but sometimes it's kind of hard to get that right, especially if it's a photograph you've taken afterwards. You see that color's not right, it's kind of green. There we go, that's the color we want. And I'm going to hold down shift a little bit to be able to kind of smooth those colors in. Smooth this color in here too. Alright. So like I can fix all of this in here too. And then we'll hold down shift to kind of, whoops, I don't want to smooth all of it. I just want to get these jagged edges out of the outsides of it. Alright. It's looking much better. Okay. I can see that his ear became a little distorted here. So let's inflate that out. Yeah, the scanner kind of really did weird because it probably couldn't see all of it right there. So that's probably the... And it kind of looks like I need to move everything in right here just by the shape of it. So I'm going to move this area in. This area in too. Looks better. Alright, let's go down here and paint the shirt. Let's go back to the standard brush. Let's paint these, whoops. Let me get all the way to that, like it just right there. And if it looks like the color's like overwhelming that you're painting it with, then you might need to go back and reselect or change the RGB intensity, and that's pretty much what I'm doing here. So I'm going to change the RGB intensity so that it's not so powerful of a color. And he definitely doesn't have a hand on his shirt, so I need to fix that. So we need to paint this in here because this is definitely, you know, you don't have a hand on his shirt, and that's basically what that color is. Whoops. Painted on the hand too much. Change the intensity down a little bit. Alright, gives you opportunity to repair this too. Okay, looking good. Hit F to frame it out. Kind of see our progression here. And then there's a couple ways you could fix this. I have X put on. You see how that makes that X one? It's like a geometry select. You want to hit X and turn that off. So you could fix this, but the way that the printer picks up these colors, you almost are not going to notice if you just paint it in like this. You're almost not going to notice that. And you're doing this in production. You're trying to get a lot of these done in a day and make a buck on these in the end. Yeah, you're gonna probably not so worry about painting that like that. Now, you can use a texture overlay where you can sample the actual pants, and then you can actually map back on the way it looks. But Whoops, I'm not going to do that in this tutorial, but if you guys have the interest to be able to fix it that way, I forgot what it's called. It's called Starlight, Project Light. I forgot the name of it. Alright, so look here. What I'm going to do is I want to get the area that's in between the legs. And remember I said that's Alt and Shift, and you can draw green boxes like that. So you see how this area in here is not painted? And one, it's flat as a board. We don't want that. You need some kind of geometry in it, or else it looks kind of funky. And especially when you hand this back over to the customer, they'll be like, what is that? What are you doing? See, I'm just kind of giving it a little bit of volume so that it's not completely flat. And then I'm going to smooth it out here a little bit as well by holding down Shift. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint that area by going to the standard brush again. Let's go ahead and paint it. Alright, so that's probably as much as I can get on that one. I see my leg in here right there. There we go. So now I can kind of paint this in here, my shoe color. And then I can use the paint from the pants to fix this one. So you got purple. You can paint these all up so they look normal. Alright, let's paint that a little bit too. And what I'm using, also hold down Shift and kind of blurring them in, kind of mixing them in to make them work. There you go. Alright, let's color this one. Awesome. Alright, let's do a little bit more painting. Whoops, looks like I got some paint from something else on this side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fix that by just painting back on it. Mind meld it, blur it into it so it's kind of like, looks like it's all one piece. Alright, I need to paint this over. There's a little bit of spot there. Some spots right here. I didn't want to paint my arm there. So what I need to do to make sure I don't paint my arm, I can either mask it or just go like this. Get the one area I want. I don't need to worry about painting anything else because it'll paint just what I'm trying to paint. Alright, so this area is purple and the shirt's black, so it shouldn't be purple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint that, fix that color. Just in here. You know, I figured this is best to leave it in this format so you can see it being done live instead of me fast forwarding through everything, because that's what I've seen everybody do to me when I was trying to figure this out. So I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make this so that you could see it being edited in real time. And I know that everybody has asked me to finish doing the Blender version of it, and I will. I wanted to get this one out there as quickly as I could since I had time to get this done. And now we need to paint the top of my head here, which is probably about this color here. And what I'm going to do, that's a little bit too high on the intensity, so I just want to kind of meld it in here. And then my bald spot disappears, by the way, too, which is nice. Alright, let's paint this little section on the ear and get this fixed. Again, remember, to sample the paint, I'm holding down C in the area where I want to grab the paint from. Alright, let's kind of smooth this area in because it looks alienated there. You see my arm here, how it's painted on the inside? Well, to get that is hold down Control Shift, and let's make a box right there so I can turn basically inside where the arm is so I can get to that color. So I'm going to sample the color right there at the edge of that where that all is, and then paint that in there so my arm looks normal. Customer can't say, why is this all looking kind of funky? It's not, why does my arm look weird? Some people really look at the models and they're like, oh my god, they nitpick over them. And I'm not saying that you're not entitled to doing that, but I'm just saying that they're wondering about, the smallest detail. Why is it messed up? Well, I'm showing you guys how to fix it. So now it looks like it's all painted on the arm and the inside, and it's looking good. It looks like it's a little bit too much arm and needs to be more shirt. So let's paint that in right here. But this could also be something where we need to do the move tool again, where you go to move and we take this and then stretch it up in there, because we're trying to make the two separate pieces. Yeah, this looks better this way. Alright. Now let's re-Dynamesh it. So hold down Control, drag. As I am waiting. We're only into an hour so far. It definitely does take longer when you have to talk to be able to repair the model, but you guys learn how to do this too. So let's go out of Dynamesh mode here. If it does this to you, it just means that this is selected in the gray area. You just want to move the color palette up to the white gray corner. And we're just going to smooth this out. So it looks like I have, arms not part of my shirt, which is good. And it looks fine. It's good. Okay. Let's smooth this one out in here a little bit too, because it looks a little bit weird. Let's go ahead and paint in these colors because these are a little bit dry. I'm going to bring down the intensity because I don't want to do move. I want to go back to the standard tool. Alright, looking better. Let's fix that a little bit. Need to paint that because that is not the way I want it to. There we go. Alright, so we fixed the hands. Oh, we got to fix the other leg down here. There we go. Let's paint it. And it's kind of purple, so I must have gotten it. There we go. I got the better area now. Looking nice and smoothed up here, looking good. And some of the little minor blemishes. Alright, it looks like that's pretty good. Looks like I need to smooth this out a little bit because the texture is just a little bit bad on here, so I'm going to use just the smooth tool. Now remember, sometimes I use the smooth tool while we went into non-color mode. That never affects the texture that's on it, but this does, and we want to do that because of some of the problems with the painting or the texture that this one is. This will fix it. It smooths them in or matches them in, which is good. Some areas back here too. Yeah, I like that. That's looking good. Alright. So now let's smooth this out on my shirt here a little bit. I'm change this back to white. I still see some bumpiness in here, so I'm going to smooth this out with a bigger tool. Yeah. It's looking good, much better. Okay. Alright, make sure this is all smoothed out too. Alright, let's take a look at it. Smooth just that dot out there. All right. Now for the last part of this was to fix the hand. We need to make these two pieces not connect. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mask these by holding down Control and just painting in between there like that. Let's paint right there so that we can actually disconnect those two pieces. Okay. Hit Control and just left mouse click. To reverse it, go to Hidden. Visibility, Hidden, and then go back to Geometry, and then go to Delete Hidden, and then Connect Holes. Alright, and then we got it separated there. My fingers may not be the way I quite wanted that, so probably going to have to play with this a little bit and make it look a little nicer. It's kind of tough when those are actually, the hand is kind of messed up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop this down a little bit more here. Get this off here. Right here. Take it back because I'm preparing this to be able to repair this one. Okay, I don't want that. Now to unpaint something or unmask it, hit Control Alt and then you can repaint away and get rid of that because that's where I didn't want to do it. Alright, so let's hold down Control and click left mouse button, Visibility Hide, Geometry, select Delete Hidden, Close Holes. Alright, and then we have there basically an area that we can put the new hand on and fix this problem. So let's kind of smooth this out a little bit. And now we can fix the hand a little bit here. Now, the hands may meet here, so we need to fix that little area that his arm's moving in. So what we need to do is we need to, let's see, will the hand, will it intersect? I don't know, maybe we can just move it down a little bit. It looks like the whole thing needs to be moved. So let's go to the Move tool, and let's make it a little bit bigger. We can just take the whole hand and just move it down a little bit. Move it down a little bit, like this. So that way that the two hands aren't going to meet. Yeah, I like that. That looks better in a way. So, I don't know, we'll have to play with it. Let's fix this here. Okay, we want to pull this finger out too. This one out, yeah, that looks better. Oh, I see some things going on down here too. I need to smooth the coloring out because that's bad coloring. I see a little bit bad coloring there too. Okay, so now to do this, this is definitely a more advanced thing to do, and I'm going to do this, and it's going to take some practice for you to get this down. You may have to watch this video a couple times, because I know I certainly had to watch it quite a bit of times to learn this technique too. So I guess the hand's not painted on the bottom, but I can fix that later. So what I need to do is I need to create a copy of this, because I need to snag this hand. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a duplicate of the area that I've been editing. Sometimes at this point it's probably a good idea to save your project. I think it's Control S. It is. So hit Control S, and I'm going to save my current project just under a ZBrush project, or let's call it YouTube for tutorial. So let's save it. That way, just in case something happens, I can go back to it. Okay, and what I want to do is I'm going to mask that I want to take this hand. I want to copy this hand. So I'm going to mask everything that I want from this hand. I'm going to take all this little back pieces here too. Let's mask all of it here. Alright, let's see here. Alright, I'm going to duplicate it now. Duplicate. Now I'm working on the third one. I'm not working on the one that has the original on it. So what I want to do is I'm going to do do I want to reverse this one? This is always trying to remember how the best way is to do this. So I want that masked area. So what I want to do is I want to grab that area. I want to delete everything that is not masked. So what I want to do is I want to go to geometry. Now remember, I'm not on the one that I did all the repairing on. I'm just doing on the one so I can go. Oh, actually, you know what? I don't want to delete it. I want to delete. Let's see if I can do the visibility. Hide one that's not done. I don't know if that did what I wanted. Oh, yeah, it did. Yeah, it sure did. See, sometimes it's kind of confusing because you see how the rest of the stuff is still there. Somehow this other one turned on once I did that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to the geometry and I'm going to delete the hidden. So now on that one layer up here, the only thing that's left is the hand. And you see how it's colored in there? So that's the only thing that is left is the hand. So what I'm going to do is I want to see what the geometry color of that is, and I want to let me group it just to change the color on it. Let's go to polygroups, do auto group on that one. Okay, good. And then let's go back to our subtool. And what we can do is we can turn on the other one here so we can have a reference, because we want it to go to this model right here. We could turn on the color if you really want to. It's really not necessary, but whatever you want to do, it's okay. So now that I have that on there, it looks like I have that X tool turned on again. No, I don't. Okay. So what I want to do now is I want to take this area. Before I do anything with it, I want to mirror it, because you got a right and left hand. So I want to go down to the option where it says deformation, and I want to mirror it. So I'm going to mirror it, and it did mirror it right here. It looks kind of weird. There we go. It kind of put it in a weird place. So now I got to go back, since now I got it to mirror. I want to go to geometry and I want to close holes on it, so it turns it into one little object. So it's one solid object now. Okay. And we need that because we're going to Dynamesh it. So let's go back in here and let's turn on our other one. It's weird when you mirrored it back there. So that's okay. We just need to move it now. So let's get it into position here so we can use it. And to do that, let's go up here and select the move tool. And what you want to do is let's zoom up on it, and we want to select from one end of it. Whoops, you want to hold down left mouse button. Yeah, let's do this. Left mouse button and then drag it right to the other end. It's just my preference to do this. So we can move this one around where we want it to go, and the center one will make the whole mask move. Okay? Yeah, especially if you're not used to ZBrush, this is going to be kind of a weird thing because it doesn't work like a 3D editing program does, not like Maya or Blender or anything else. So I'm going to move this over. We're going to get that over there. See, it's kind of weird because when it moves, it still keeps that movement point still in the same place, which drives me absolutely crazy how that works. And maybe I don't know enough about ZBrush to make that work, but it's just the way that I deal with it. So if there's another way, I'm always open to a new way to do it. So now I'm going to take this and rotate this piece around. So what I need to do is I'm going to move this part here. Yeah, I want to move that like this. Move that like that. What I'm doing is I'm just getting the hand in position so I can make it work where I want it to. Okay, so let's go back to draw mode. Let me get down here so I can get that hand in a position I want. I'm going to go back to the move tool, highlight it again, and let's move it down to here and getting it close to the position where I want. And by the way, I'm going to try to get this down here as easy as I can here. So let's draw another one right here on it. Let's move it into position right here. So it does look like the two hands are going to meet, so I might have to move this down a little bit. I need to rotate it. It's looking good. This is what's involved in trying to repair and make another hand when you didn't have one before. They're going to meet, but I'm just going to let it be just so you guys can learn this technique. I'm going to let it be that. I wouldn't leave it for production was this way. You know what? Maybe I can bring the hand in far enough that it won't. Maybe that would work. Let's rotate it out a little bit. Kind of like that. That's skewing it. You have to, when you're going to Dynamesh something, you have to move them as close together as you can if you want them to become one piece. So I'm going to rotate this around too, because, yeah, right there, that's what I want. I want to move it. Yeah, that works. And then we can fix those things on it so that it looks right. Alright, so now what we want to do is, since now I have what I want to do with that, let's turn off that frame mode so you can see the hand. So it'll be a little bit of sculpting to fix that. Maybe I might need to move it just a little bit more, I think. Yeah, that's working. Move it down just a little bit. I think his hand should be rotated a little bit. So this one rotate. Yeah, it's rotating the way I want it. Yeah. All right. Looks good enough. All right. So what I want to do is I need to merge that hand onto the layer that I made the duplicate of. So this is layer. So it's 0, 1, and 2, right? So it's 3 layers. But this is the one that I wanted to go back onto. So I need to highlight this one, which it already is. And what I want to do is I want to merge it down. So I want to go to merge on this one. And here it is, merge, and I want to merge down. And it says I can't go back. Well, that's okay, because you remember we made a backup before. And now you see that it's 1. So now I don't need that other one, because it's, you can see that it's still masked. So I want to unmask that by just holding down. I believe I can just click left mouse button and click. Yeah, just left mouse button and click, and it takes off all the mask. Now we need to re-Dynamesh it, so it needs to be connected, because they're not connected right now, but by Dynameshing it, it will connect. So you hold down, make sure that it's in texture mode like this, hold down Control and drag down, and then what it's going to do is it's going to Dynamesh those two parts together, and then we can smooth them out. I grant you, we may have needed to find a different child's hand to really repair this, but the same techniques can be applied, and if that's an interest to you guys out there, I can also show how that's done too. So now you can see that it's now become part of the mesh. It's connected to it. So now I can go back into smooth mode, and I can smooth this back in there to make a connection. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. Alright, sorry about my phone is going off while this is going on. I'm almost dead here, so. Yeah, I see something. We need to inflate this area back here because it's got a hole right there. So we need to fix that. Let's go to inflate. Join together there, which is good. This hand looks a little bent. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of hand that we could really make work on it. So let's go back into this mode, and then we'll re-Dynamesh it. Alright, looks like that's done. And we have a repaired hand on top of that too. So you can see all of this is set up. And well, let's fix this one last little part here. Let's do standard and hit C to color it for that area, and let's paint this little area in. And I'm going to smooth it out just a tad bit here too, just so it kind of all matches. And so from what we had to work with, I'd say that we're quite a bit better than what we first started with. I might need to fix his nose here a little bit. Looks like it's a little smash there from the data. So let's go to brush, inflate. Let's inflate this up right there. Smooth it a little bit. Go back to it. That's a little better than it was. It's a little weird though. I don't, it seems like we need to move up a little portion of this to the side. Let's move this up. Yeah, see that looks better. I mean, texture-wise it's a little better, but we definitely need a photograph to completely repair that process. And we can show that using Spotlight is what it's called. Yeah, now I remember what it is. It's called Spotlight inside of Zbrush. Fix this little bit of pixelation problem down here with the texture. Actually paint that back in too. Oops. I'm in move mode, so I need to go back to standard. Select it. Let's paint it in there and repair that. Yeah. Alright, so now the only thing you want to do is you want to print this. You want to send it off to a printing service bureau. So what you're going to do is let's frame it up in the window here. Okay, so I'm hitting F to frame it, and I'm using Shift and turning it so that it'll bump it like this in the perspective views like this. So you notice that the shirt is no longer purple. And if you take a look at this, you can see how the old one looked. And we could turn off. Here's what the old one looked like. Here's the original with all of its deformities, all of the problems that it had with it. And then here's what it looks like now that it's repaired. I'd say it's quite an improvement, but the scanner was really the issue on this one. This may be something that you need to be rescanned, but you can get a pretty good scan out of this. This would be a really good print now. So you could say to your customer, and it definitely would be something they'd like, and it's not his son has two hands again. I mean, you can spend more time on this and perfect this a little bit more, but I want to say thank you for joining me, and I hope that this helps you as much as it did me, and this is why I'm giving back to the community as well. So I hope you guys give me some good props for doing this as well, and subscribe. Thank you again. Bye-bye.